Hey guys, it's Career Ended. Welcome back to my YouTube channel.
Okay, that's about enough. All right, it's actually me though. I'm here, career ended, and I'm here with Buttes, and we're doing a predictions video on not on the playoffs, yeah,
On the
on
playoffs.
the playoffs. The matchups we got them right here. There's about 16 games going on between 32 guys and girls and whatever they identify as.
Right.
Anyway,
Um, I mean, I felt like for compared to this OMPL, we definitely had a really exciting week 7 for the most part. Like it was really close. I mean, what, like 6 teams could make or not make playoffs. No one was really guaranteed yet.
yeah, the only
So
team
it
that was
was,
guaranteed out was the Flutters. The only team guaranteed in was the Tyrants. So very interesting final
yeah, and
week
both
seven.
teams flopped.
And both teams flopped. Yeah, well, what do you expect? They didn't have anything to play for. No one. Yeah, what are you gonna do about it? Tyrants putting out their B lineup and Flutters losing two on
Oh, so you're saying
Axe.
the people who started last week were bad?
That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying if you look at who's starting this week and who started last week. Well, I mean, I started last week, so I'm bad, is what you're saying.
I agree.
Anyway, yeah, it was pretty interesting. Pretty much, this was the only week without a tie, by the way, week seven.
Really?
Yeah, all the other weeks had ties. Um, anyway, do you want to go over the matchups for this week?
Yeah, I mean, do you want to start with your team or my team?
Well, your team is above, so why don't we start with your team?
We are above because we're first.
Yes, you guys
Um,
passed us in the last week. Very rude of you.
for what it's worth, we were not guaranteed playoffs unless we at least tied. So we at least had that going for us. But um, I mean, I think this week is really going to be really interesting. Wiggly's got into playoffs moderately controversially, um, off the back of some fortunate. Well, they had to get on in based on differential, and they had a team that didn't care as their opponent. So, um, I mean, Dragonillis has been managing OMPL for like what, at least 3 or 4 years,
He's definitely
and
got some
has not made
chops.
playoffs before. So this is exciting for him at least. But I think starting with 2v2, you have Tio and Hugo, both slots with 5 wins. Let me see, Hugo 3-1, and then Despacito 3-0, and then I don't. Yeah, and then they did game last week or got act win, so they're 6-1. Tio is 5-0.
Here, I'll pull up the
Um,
records on the spreadsheet so our nice
yeah,
viewers can see it all.
Tio is 5-0. Despacito Hugo combo 6-1. So I mean they're doing really great. Um, I think it's going to be pretty interesting. I mean, I think prep wise, Hugo's probably top half of the pool when it comes to building. I do think that this year the 2v2 pool has been kind of weak. I mean, Yuki, Tio, both very good. Fragments is positive, but I think overall I haven't been too impressed. The pool has been kind of farmable, so I think we'll see. I think this is going to be Hugo's like some of his first real. I don't want to say first competition, but like it's going to be a challenge I think for them. So I think it'll be fun.
Yeah, for sure. I mean,
I know
f
you're not
f
a 2v2 expert. Do you have any comments?
well, you are more of a 2v2 expert than me, but definitely Hugo and Esposito have been running the 2v2 show for the Wigglies, and they've done really well for themselves. 6-1 as a slot is
One of the
pretty.
cheaper
Yeah,
combos too.
yeah. I think Despacito went for 3K. But also
And
Tio.
Hugo was 5, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, and Tio went for 3K as well, but you guys did spend a little bit on Vrigi
Virgie
on
was
your
5K
side.
too. So they both 8K.
Yeah, so definitely some pretty good success for pretty cheap from the draft on these two teams. But yeah, like I'm just looking at the record and who they played over a while, but Definitely a pretty good game, I think, between two pretty successful
Yeah, I mean,
slots.
you
So,
have the BGC player versus the mainer, so I think it's interesting in that. To, I mean, obviously just very good in doubles in general, and I always think it's just interesting when you have like a tour player versus a mainer. Like I think that's just an interesting matchup always.
oh yeah,
Um,
for sure.
and then
Definitely an
for
interesting
AAA,
contrast.
we have Osaka versus Haryana Grande. Um, a little bit. I know for my team, Sylvie was like a little bit of beef with Osaka, but he was like slot me into AAA, but we were like, no, we want to win. But I think this is just interesting. Osaka kind of like last year. Did he play OMPL last year? No, he managed two OMPLs
He did
ago.
manage last year.
Didn't do too great. Came back last year, managed, and then retired, and then came back this gen. My dog is like trying to get me to pet her.
A lot of people have been calling out Asake as this is the first OMPL he's been going positive. So that has been
Yeah,
a typical thing.
I think,
Osaka has been playing pretty well though. To my knowledge, he's 5-1 in AAA. He did slot in Mix and Mega for a week to take on Stresh. And
and
that
then
did
lost
well. He
horribly.
just didn't bring a CMRC's ground check, so that'll happen, I guess.
Um,
Not the end of the world,
it
but
is
definitely Osaka
interesting
has been very good
because,
in his AAA game so far.
yeah, I mean, I think it's interesting because I think, our AA has like what, like at this point, 16,000 messages in our channel.
Yeah, so that has
And
been
we
formidable.
still bring standard every week, which I think is a little bit funny. It's like, what are you talking about so much? But it's like, um, I don't know. I mean, I think, with the French in AA, you just always have to expect that they're going to bring something whack. I mean, I remember him building Osaka building for MZ last year, and there were some really interesting teams. And that's not like a demeaning interesting. I mean, just interesting in general.
No,
But I think
Osake
it's
has definitely been very creative this OMPL, I think. And he just has a style where he's gonna try out a bunch of different shit and see if like just throw stuff at the wall and see what works, which is kind of a good way to build in current AA, honestly. Like I saw Atha made a post in AA recently, and he just highlighted that he thinks like the balance he builds with like typically one breaker and just a good amount of pivoting and hazard control and just like really sound builds to the most viable right now, as opposed to like the offensive stuff that Ciamato earlier in the earlier after home dropped. He had mentioned that he thought more of the offensive builds were going to be dominant when we saw like screens being brought like 6 times in the first week after home dropped.
I
And
do remember that. Yeah. I mean, I think it's always sort of interesting when you have, and this was kind of the situation I was in last OMPL, where it's like I was the person passing my non-mainer tour player like fat every week, and they were doing really well. And then you got into these weird matchups where I was then having to go off against someone who brought whack stuff, and I think that's always just sort of like just tough because it's like a consistency versus creativity thing. Not that Lord Box and Trank haven't been creative, but it's like, do you trust the mainer who has more knowledge, or do you trust the tour player who is probably, I mean, Ariana Grande is probably overall a better player, but I think when it comes to AA, like that skill gap drops just due to all the meta knowledge and ability to just bring some setup sweeper with an immunity ability that just steamrolls.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting game. I think once you get into the game, for sure, even players with more experience in general as just a clicker of Pokemon games is it pales in comparison to like the meta knowledge. But of course, it really doesn't matter because you can't bring your meta knowledge and all your prep into. You can only bring your 6 mons in the game. So it's kind
Yeah.
of interesting about that point of view. Anyway,
Um,
anything goes.
for AG, I don't really have a ton to say on this AG game. Pull 3 and 4 win. I mean, best win has been versus Card, who's the best player in the pool by far. But only other 2 wins were versus what Fogbound Lake last week, who was 1 in 6. well, 1-6 after that game, and then you had his win versus Bread Sandwich, who finished 1-2. So it's like one really good win, and then two wins I would expect from Polt. I don't really have a ton of comments on the teams he's brought either. I mean, I think in general uh they're a solid player. But I mean with Taka, I think, Taka came into this tour, I think being the cheapest AG starter with like what 4.5K, and then it was not an AG player really before then. I think he's like an Uber's main, so it's like you have that sort of weird, like he wasn't really expected to do well, and he's gone 4-3. Has two games that he probably should have won. I mean, he would say he should have won, but he didn't. But I mean, that doesn't really matter. So I don't know. I mean, I think last week Taka, I think, really showed that he can be a very good starter by 2-0ing Tax Fraud in a set that wasn't really close. Completely out prepped him, and then Tax Fraud just was burnt out and played bad, which he admitted. So I don't know. I think I'm doing these predictions as unbiased as I can and without trying to jinx myself. I think Taka just has better support, and I think he's been playing better. If he can play a clean endgame, he should win. But AG is also such a mess in a BO1 format because you can just cheese your way through with Terra. So it's like, what do you do? I don't know. It's
No,
always a coin flip in these games.
yeah, that's the thing about current anything goes is that a horse rider, Arceus, you're running like triple Arceus, 300% usage. So I think, and just with E Killer as well, in Terra in general, this tier is very unbalanced. So typically you're gonna give the edge to the better player, and record wise, pretty even 4-3, 3-4. So kind of like a little bit of a swing game
Yeah,
in this
both
series,
have
I think.
a win over a very good player. Taka beat Tax Run, Polt beat Guard. But yeah, as sort of you were saying, I do think that if you prep better, you will win an AG. Like if you are like there, it's still skill based. However, you can still cheese if that makes sense. So like the better player usually wins,
There's
but
a
not always.
well, there's a lot of cheese in the tier, but of course, yeah, I just think bringing some solid
It's
teams
more
is good,
balanced than BH is right
and
now. I will say that.
it's not as linear team building in anything goes either. I would say the team building is very like
I would
it's
say it's you can be very
you can
creative
be
while
very
still
creative.
building something that's viable.
Hmm.
But yeah, I think both players I think are similar skill wise. I think it will just come down to who preps better. And of course, I rate my Intaka's prep very highly, and I don't really know who's helping Polt. Polt is a good player, so we'll see.
Yeah, so we can move on to some balanced hack ones now. We got Cityscapes versus Onyx 7. So
Onyx coming off the bench to save the Wiggly's dire BH slot this
yeah, well,
tour.
the Wigglies did spend a pretty penny on
Their second most
T-Tech, I
expensive
thought.
player.
Is it not?
Their
I need
second most expensive player, yeah, 11K. Uh,
you're
went
right. They have
1-4 with a win over one win in Mix and
the
Mega
one
last week.
0 and 4 in balanced hack ones games.
And then Onyx came off the bench, beat PDT and Savag, which um, I can't be that mean, but like a little bit of free wins. Like PDT is good, has had bad support.
I don't know if
Savag,
PDT is a free win. I think he's done quite well for himself in himself. Even just 2 and
the
4.
second half of the tour, yes,
Yeah, just with a win over Kyojo, I think is that was a little bit of a cheesy win, but
with the fillet away unburdened
hmm
Pooper.
well, we'll see, we'll see. But
But I mean, here what I mean is that like at this point, if they've been able to grab some wait, what team are we talking about?
We're talking
Sorry.
about Onyx
Oh,
and
we'll get
mid
to
family.
PDT in the next
Yeah,
game or in the next team. But
yeah.
with Wiggly's, Onyx is kind of like Diet City. Like City is Onyx if Onyx was like better. Does that mean
Um,
you get what? But like they
that
are both like kind of like really
well,
creative.
that is kind of
But
mean, but the
City,
but the better way to phrase it, I think, is just that they're both Balance Hackmons is an absolutely
they're
hilarious
both the
tier.
most whack
If
builders.
anyone's been paying attention, you know that this tier is hilarious and nothing ever makes sense. Except that you always lose to Imposter unless you really prep hard for Imposter. But the basic is that they both build like some pretty out there stuff. Trying to get their
Cities is like out there, but like reined in a little bit. Onyx is like if City built and didn't have a filter.
Yeah, that's a fair enough thought process. I do think that Onyx's builds have been a little bit linear this OMPL. I think we've seen his power trip in prison haze
He's
poison
not
CS
loading
a
up like
bunch.
Assault Vest, Necrozma, Dawn Wings, Misty Terrain Balance, which was
No,
a real team he built last gen.
yeah, but like on the
Um,
other hand, City's been building some pretty innovative and funny stuff too. Like even
she's
just last
been,
week,
I think, in her bag.
she was running
City,
some chili reception on Aleki to pivot and into Groudon with
I
Aurora
mean,
Veil. So that's pretty good.
I mean, yeah, she brought the Aurora Veil bundle,
Yeah, the
Snowscape
Tower
bundle.
of Power versus Savage.
I think City has, let me check her record. I think she's 5-2. So she had that bad loss versus Savag, Haxie win versus T-Tech, loss versus Quadropa, which she should have won, which she knows, but
Uh,
she let her baton passer get nuzzled turn two,
that'll
and
happen.
then I think she had two like 10 turn games that she won, which I think
I don't know if
is
that goes.
insane.
That just goes to show how hilarious Balance Hackmons has been as a tier.
Yeah,
Like I feel like
versus two very good people. Like that
mhm,
shouldn't happen.
there have been a lot of funny games. Like I think there was in week 5. I think there was 3 games decided in like less than 20 turns. So
And
pretty
Cities was decided in 7.
yeah, 7 turns is
Like
very quick to
who
end a
brought
game.
Sugar High back?
But even just last week against Chess King, that game was over in 12 turns.
It was over at preview, but it did end in 12 turns.
But anyway, that
But that
that'll
was mostly
happen.
just unfortunate. I mean, balanced tack ones is so unbalanced right now. Ironic per the name. So I don't know. I think it's hard because
I definitely think City is favored in this one. I think a lot
City
of
is
players have
favored,
favored
but
City.
you can build a solid team and still get 6-0'd with Terra, which Onyx found out last week and then S King.
All
And
right.
it wasn't really either player's fault,
Yeah. Well,
which is unfortunate. So I think this will be decided based on matchup. And what sucks is that I'm not sure who wins on matchup is determined by skill, more so by luck.
I would even say City has more game skill than Onyx. I think
Yeah.
Onyx is a little bit hard on themselves, but typically that's like linked to low confidence issues and a little bit of pressure on him now. This might be his first playoff game with like some
I
serious
mean, he's been in
weight
like
on him.
how like 5 or 6 OMPLs at this point, and many of them in playoffs. So she has the experience. She's I think probably won a seasonal or two. I don't
I
know
think
her
she's won a
history.
seasonal. But
Probably
anyway,
won BH
moving
seasonal
on to
once.
the godly gift, Sylvie versus Meta.
Sylvie's a really good clicker. And I think Sylvie meta
I think Meta's a pretty
and
good clicker as well. He's had
yeah,
some good showings this
who
OMPL.
he's 3-3. Losses versus Blink Boy, Paunch Lake. Everyone lost to Paunch Lake. And
But not Dr.
Lily.
PhD, who
He's
coincidentally
good
did get beat
PhD.
by Meta. Yeah, exactly.
He did 6-0 Dr. PhD BJ, or maybe it was like a 5-0.
Godly Gift is
I
in a
mean,
funny headspace right now. There is a lot of stuff allowed right now, and that probably shouldn't be allowed, but we're letting them develop, I guess. So a little bit of an unbalanced here as well. But we'll see what each team brings. We have yeah, it'll be pretty interesting. I think Wiggly's will have a lot more support as of this week with a lot of the eliminated teams having players that are flocking to help support the playoff teams. So I think a lot of the French will be hopping on the Wiggly family. So that means like support from
I mean,
players like
Dragonels is
Free
such
and
a
Bubble.
likable person that I don't think they'll struggle to get helpers at all.
No.
I think the thing is with meta is that in my mind, meta is like meta beats the people they're supposed to and does not beat the people they are not supposed to.
Well, the thing is though that the Virizions Godly Gift slot has been suffering all season, and I will say Sylvie is a good Pokemon player, but it's determined to be seen whether the Godly Gift from the Virizions is
No,
up to
that's true.
snuff.
In the sense that like Sylvie's two wins are over Phrase and Jordan, who I think were the weaker GG slots. So, and the one game that Sylvie played versus the best GG player, he lost. Granted, he lost very closely, but he hasn't really gotten that. He's kind of just beaten players that I would consider someone of his caliber should
Hmm.
beat, and we haven't seen him beat, or we haven't seen them beat someone who is really good yet. So we'll see.
Yeah, a little bit of a balanced matchup. Let's move on to the next two games. We'll do Mix and Mega first, but these are probably the two highlight games of this series for sure. We got Stretch versus Class in Mix and Mega. So this will be a damn good game. Obviously, Stretch went 6-1 and only lost to QT. Did really well in all of the weeks. So um, little bit. I would say most people would take Stretch in this game. He's favored for sure. But Class has definitely been uh, doing well in the second half of this tournament. Um, for sure.
Beat Class beat Damn Flame and QT and lost to Ice Master and Zastra, which is like beat a really good and lost to a really good player, and then beat an okay player and lost to an okay player. So kind of even there. Um,
Mm,
Thresh's one loss came to QT, uh,
in a week where he
which
brought
was pre-home.
yeah
So
pre-home psychic
I feel like
spam.
it's harder to rate pre-home. I really, honestly, in my records, I kind of just like delete pre-home and I just consider like the weeks 3 through 7.
It's hard to
And
really the meta shifted so much at that
and
point.
also, can you really expect someone like Stresh to like care about learning a meta that's going to be gone in 2 weeks? Not really. Um, so I think the thing is with this matchup, Stresh is like a much better clicker, but I think that we saw with Class D's game versus QT. I mean, Class D is totally willing to just like load up fish, and I don't mean fish in like a bad way,
You
like
mean fishes
just
in
like load
rain?
up. Well, fish is just like well, he brought what like hyper offense, E killer, and then what like Basque Legion rain. So it's like
Those were
he
his
can
two
load up
wins,
something
yeah.
that Fresh will not prep for, and if he clicks good enough and doesn't choke, he can win. Now, you also have to keep in mind with Class Dia, like I think this is his first OMPL playoffs, and when you're stressed and you're winning, it is really hard when you're less experienced to not choke. And I say that as someone who has choked in many playoffs. Like it's really hard.
Yeah,
So I
and
think
I think Class's team that he brought against Ice was also very good, but he did kick himself in the foot very early on by letting his Corviknight get burned when it was a very useful
he will
Pokemon in
make the
that
most
game.
brainless plays and play fine the rest of the game. But like he'll just throw one turn and it'll just completely ruin him. And it's just because he doesn't think.
And this could be said of a lot of just
Yes,
inexperienced players, especially under
I
pressure,
do
I
it.
think.
The only reason I don't do it now is because I'm on the Mons PEDs.
Box
which
PEDs,
is
which means he's
ADHD
retired.
medication, but it's like I think you have to go with the more experienced player who has played in SPL, won OMPL multiple times. Like I think when it comes to managing pressure, stress is just like way better at that. And I think that's
Hmm.
probably what it's going to come down to. But I would say it's like 70-30 in favor of stress.
Yeah, Stretch definitely has a pretty good grasp of the current meta, and along with that, he's been in this situation a lot, like with any
And
with a
when was
bunch of
the
different
last time any of
players.
us saw stress choke? Like
Hmm.
it's really not like once or twice maybe this OMPL, and he still won those games.
Anyway, well, let's move on to the NFE game, Stario versus OJR. This will be a damn good game. OJR probably the leader of the Wiggly family. Um, on their second half of the season comeback to make playoffs. For
I mean, he's been doing great.
for those of you who don't know, at the midpoint of the season, I'm pretty sure Wiggly Family was in second to last place, and maybe even people were counting them out to making the playoffs at all. But they've really stuck to it, and
Hmm.
here they are. And I think
Um,
OGR being an early week player and for multiple weeks, I think put them ahead 1-0 on in the second half of the season. That's not something to like since week 4 OGR four straight wins. So
hmm.
a really easy for your team to go out and clutch good results when when you start off the week 1-0. So definitely something to be
Hmm.
said there.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's been playing great. Solid grasp with meta, brings good teams, plays solid. Um, one game they played earlier in the season, Stariel got pretty lucky. Lucky enough to where I say it influenced how the game ended, but I think nonetheless, like, I mean, I don't know. There's not really much to say. He's just been playing really solid. Stariel, on the other hand, um, I mean, his losses have been, week one pre-home, loaded, awful match, like brought like physical hyper offense into Whooper, which
That
is
was an unfortunate game. Crying's only win of the tournament, I think, as well. But
yeah,
what
and
a
then lost to T Wave Spam the previous last week and a
mm,
misclick. So I think both. I really think this is probably the most even matchup. I think both are completely capable of winning it. I would say it's like probably 55-45 in favor of Stariel, only because I think Stariel just is a more prominent player, but OGR is perfectly capable of winning.
I would say this one where Star Rail might not have as much experience in NFE as OJR. OJR is
In SV and FES.
OJR is a mainer through and through. That guy is playing a lot of NFE, but Star Rail, of course, probably has the experience. Just in Pokemon in general on his side. So definitely a pretty even matchup, and definitely going to be an exciting game on
Yeah.
that one. And if
And I
you,
mean, for what it's worth, Stariel has also been playing NFE for years, but I mean, also only in major tournaments. Like it's not like he cares about the tier. I mean, I think OJR is really invested in like learning and pushing the meta forward. Is I mean, I was on his team last year. He's always willing to be creative. Sometimes too creative. I'm thinking of the Swoobat hyper offense, but I mean, I think nonetheless he is capable of pulling something out of his bag of tricks and being crazy in a good way. So I'm excited to see what he brings.
hmm and then to round out the last matchup um, for this series is Panu versus Rafna.
Hanu's only win, if we're not including Clementine purposely throwing, was versus Rafna. So
Very interesting.
I don't really have anything much to say about this. I have not been following Rafna really. But I mean, it's always nice to see someone in their first OMPL go basically even. And Panu has been having a pretty bad OMPL compared to last year, but I think last year they went like 5-2 or 5-3, and this year they're 2-4.
Yeah.
I think a decent amount of that is just due to I think partly dependent on, Terra meta, partly dependent on just some misplays. I think Panu's building has been fine. I don't really know what again, I don't know what really Rofn has been doing.
Rafna
I
did
trust
win his first two games pre-home, and then he dropped four consecutive and picked up a win versus the sub Balur last week, who of course was on Fluttermania, so no one can be trusted then. So I think
so not very good.
While Rafna might have a better record on paper than Panu, it remains to be seen. If I'm pretty sure he's Belgian, if the Belgian man can really pull out a win versus Panagers, the fight of the Europeans on this game for sure.
Well, and I feel like when you watch Panu's games, you don't look at that and say, wow, that player sucks. You just think, oh, that was close. Maybe next week. And then that's just happened every week. And that's not shade. That's just like sometimes you just have tours like that and it's whatever. In my mind, like everything resets when it comes to playoffs, like mentality wise. So I think if Pandu can like reset their mindset and like start fresh and effort, not that they haven't been efforting, they've been efforting very hard. I would favor them here. But with the way the Stabmons meta is, kind of fishy. Terra makes things Terra y, I think it can always go either way.
hmm yeah, I think it'll be an interesting game, but I wouldn't say I would favor either player really hard. Maybe Panu just a slight edge, but
Well, Panu has
definitely.
the experience.
This is
They
Rofna's
we
first
know
game
we
though.
know they can play well, but will they? I don't know.
All right, so now we're gonna move on to the next series, the Terrible Tyrants versus the 5S. I'm not saying that. Soul Stealing 7-star Soul Galeos. Okay, I said it. This is
Yeah,
actually a rematch from only 2 weeks ago. And it was a little bit of a one-sided affair. When they played 2 weeks ago.
who won?
Well, the Tyrants won, of course, didn't we? 6-2. It was a pretty.
Didn't they put their B lineup in?
I wonder if I can pull up the week here.
PDT Spellcaster FC Clean Tier Dr. PhD BJ
Yeah.
and then
What
an Actwin
one
Dead Game.
one thing to be said about the week 6 matchup,
Oh, Pachik Machik too.
was that guard didn't play for their AG slot. Tier did. Um, which Tier, of course, a
Tier,
good
very
player,
good player.
very good AG player. Last
Still
able to
lost.
win that game. Um, so it'll be an interesting rematch to play so soon. Of course, they're fielding Pichus in AAA, which is different than they had Pokiek Mokiek PM.
Is
Uh,
it Pachik or is it Pokik?
I don't know. It's
Does anyone know? Can we get a clarification in
yeah.
OM Cord?
Someone drop how you say it, the
Pot,
pronunciation.
pot, pot. Is it like Pocket
Um,
Monster? Like, but like Pocket Mock?
but even though it was a one-sided affair last time, it could go differently. Of course, there was a sub, like you said. Fragments didn't play. Spellcaster was subbed in to play Yuki. Um,
And
and
yeah,
but on the other side, PDT did win against Kyojova, who is widely regarded as probably the best balanced Hackmons player right now. Um, and
yeah.
of course, the Tyrants are fielding a different Godly Gift slot this week as well, with Telenet in over Instruct. Um,
Although Talena already did play at least once.
Telenet did an RFN game against
Gone.
Gum, exactly, and the
And then
Verizions
said,
matchup.
"This tier is just like OU."
He did say that, didn't he? Um,
He said, Was there a difference?"
he said, "Was there a difference?" But he played very well in that game, and I think that was more of a joke. He's definitely had some games of godly gifts, and
He's a good clicker,
he's a good player in general for sure.
good
Um,
player. Um, I mean, I feel like when looking at, and we can go slot by slot again. I feel like overall looking at this matchup, I feel like um I mean, just looking at it before we go in, I feel like favor Solgaleos in AG, favor Tyrants in BH, favor Solgaleos in GG again if BJ like efforts. Ice Master is very good at Eminem, but I mean, you're also very good at Eminem. Clean has been a lot better than Fingal and NFP, and then I mean FC known quality Stabmons player, but there's not really any matchups outside of maybe AG where I feel like one side has a clear favor, and also maybe NFE for Solgaleos, only because Fingal hasn't been doing great, if I recall correctly.
Um, I don't know if you do recall
Oh, he's
correctly.
2-1, never mind.
Shingle has been doing very well with Lepton support in the back as well. Our NFE building has been pretty good with Lepton leading the charge, and we have a bunch of people chiming in that chat pretty
I
regularly.
just remember his game versus Daryl was a little bit rough, but I mean, wins versus Truther, wins versus Clean,
I
both
he
quality
did
starters.
pretty soundly beat Clean when they played 2 weeks ago, and this is the game I'm
Yeah,
remembering when I wouldn't say that that game is anything more than just going to be a good game and a toss up to see who wins. It'll be very
yeah,
interesting. We get to see Yuki versus Fragments, which we didn't see 2 weeks ago, so that'll be an interesting game.
yeah. Fragments 4-1. I mean, if you remove pre-home, wins versus probably the two worst in the pool, or two least good in the pool. Board glitch and I think Drip Legend didn't do great, but I don't really remember. Remember. Let me look at his record.
Mm,
Um, yeah, he went 1-4. So I mean, you have with fragments. I mean, his two wins post home have been versus two people that went 1-4 and 1-6 respectively, and then a loss for Wiggly's 2v2, which has been doing very good in
whereas
a really bad set. Like it was a really bad reverse 3-0 choke for
Yuki, I
fragments.
think, has been pretty consistently good. He had a little bit of.
Um,
I would say so. I don't know. He did beat Potato Chan ringing memes last week, so that was a little bit fun to watch. I
that
think
was a pretty fun
that
set
was
to watch.
actually the match that eliminated the doubles from the playoffs too. So that was doubly funny that way. A little double entendre for you guys there. Ha ha ha. Anyway, but
Right.
I think yeah, he had a good showing against Krydo in week three, the first week after a home drop, and he did drop 2 weeks subsequently that. But
Yeah.
I do think the match against Chris, Chris got very lucky in that set too. So
And Yuki also got fucked over by Smog Tours versus Tio.
yeah, that's another thing to consider. So I think Yuki really
I think,
has a hidden record with a 4-3. He could definitely have been a lot
although,
more
I mean, if
successful
you
this
take
year.
into account his wins, I mean, one was a Potato Chan choke, probably a choke. And then versus, I mean, Spellcaster's good, but not a 2v2 main. And I mean, doubles is inherently different than singles and is hard to immediately pick up. So I feel like 4-3, if we take everything into account, it's probably a fair representation. But I think the one thing is that, like, Yuki's always hard to get a read on because it's always dependent on how much they care. And sometimes I watch them play and I think, wow, that's the best player I've ever seen. And sometimes I watch them play and I think, who is this? So it's like, and I say that with love. They were on my 2v2PL team, whatever, but
It'll
it's
be
hard.
an interesting
I
2v2
think
game, I think for sure.
Yuki has better building
Hmm.
and is more creative. I do know the support that Solgs have in 2v2, and I mean, they're pretty good. They have Part, who I think is an Ubers player, but also plays some doubles. So I think they can definitely cook something up.
Hmm. Part, of course, fitting in nicely with FC, the Uber's tier leader there. But let's move on to AAA. We have Shiloh and Pichu's
Should be
here.
a Shiloh dub.
Should be a
There's not really much to
Shiloh
say.
is a very good AA player, and of course, our AA prep this season has been Pretty good. I don't want to
You
pat
gotta gas
myself on the
yourself
back.
up a little
I don't
bit.
want to gas myself up too hard, but I think our AAA prep has been too good. Of course, in the week 6 game, we it was pretty early on. Shiloh just said, I don't know who this player is, so give me fat and we'll win. And then that's kind of how it went according to plan. So I don't want to reveal anything, but I think we're gonna have some success in this slot this week. We'll see how it
I
goes.
do think the one thing is that um sorry, I lost my train of thought. Shiloh can win with anything, so even if you pass them like absolute shit on a plate, they'd win. So it's like I don't know. I've the AAA that Dogs have been bringing has not been impressive to me. If I recall correctly, their AA record is pretty bad.
Yeah, I think I'm not sure if it's arguable, but I think they have the weakest record in AAA on the
Um,
season
well, they had
with
tier in AA for 3 weeks. Went 1-2. They had Pokik Mokik. Yeah, I give
he
up.
played against
He went
Shiloh,
0-1, so that's one and
and then they
three.
did have Pichu's win last week against MZ, so that was a pretty good
It
showing.
doesn't.
But is that Pichu's only game of? I think they might have played another tier
No, they've
actually.
played 2 games, one AA, one M&M.
Yeah.
But I mean, the thing is, you have quality players that you can slot into anything, but if you don't have the teams, then it doesn't really matter, especially in a tier like AA that is very team reliant.
But something to be said, of course, at this point in the season when the playoffs are starting, it's easier to come across support
Yeah.
because there's less demand, less teams in it to win it at this point. So
Hmm.
for sure, the Solgs could have snatched up some A support. Like I think the Number Man was enlisted to help them build AAA. So it'll be an interesting match. I
Oh.
definitely think Shiloh is still the more talented player. He's just been around forever. He's a great player. Um, so
What is going on with your guys' AG? Who
so if you might
you
recall,
had Ender in for 3 weeks, and then you have
Ender
Layson
start for the first 2 weeks pre-home, and then in the third week, Farce the Death got an act
lost.
win on Ender, because Ender had some sort of thing come up, and yeah, he left and wasn't able to play the game. Um, and so our managers got a little bit upset with Ender, and he has not seen the play since. But that's okay because we've uh we've had Lassen sub in and do pretty
Is he
well.
building for Layson?
Yeah, we have a lot of AG support going around. Ender is definitely still active in the chat. Um, and yeah, with wins over Taka and Tier, like definitely don't discount Layson from doing pretty good this week
I mean,
against
and he
guards.
plays
So
Ubers too, so it's not like it's that different. And especially with RCS revealed on preview, it's not like you have to, put effort into guessing what people are bringing.
no, I
So
definitely think that change was easily the biggest change for anything
it
goes.
was a great change. I
Um,
love it.
it was definitely a beneficial change. I think it makes the tier less. Like, you don't have to guess on preview anymore, so it's just more
Um,
simplistic. I think.
yeah, I
But
mean,
definitely let's give some flowers to guard. Guard 5-1, best AG record. Very dominant player in the tier.
a great builder,
Same with
great
Yellow.
player. I would probably favor him to win
Hmm.
just because he's a tryhard mainer. But I mean, Layson's capable. I think it just depends on what people decide to load up. If they both load up like balance, I would probably favor guard to win. But I mean, I think when you're in this sort of situation, and if I was Layson's manager, I'd probably be trying to, or builder, I'd probably trying to be trying to, cheese a little bit or fish a little bit. And if you get the right matchup, it's, it's easy. So
Unbalanced tier. Anything can happen and anything goes. I think is comes with the
for the
name
name,
a little bit. Exactly.
yeah.
But it'll be an interesting game for sure. I definitely think the Solgs feel a little bit better. Their anything
Well,
goes
you have
support
how many
is
AG
pretty.
mains on that
Yeah,
team?
it's pretty
FC guard,
remarkable.
FC Guard, Fragments, BJ, Ice
Ice
Master,
Master, Flames,
Pichus,
yeah.
PDT, Tier, Bacon, Will, Spellcaster,
Their whole starting
all the
lineup
AG
could just
players.
be a just could just be an anything goes Premier League team basically.
I'm pretty sure this probably has been an AGPL team.
Anyway, we'll move on to BH though, because it's a pretty interesting one. We have PDT, who's of course a really good player in his own right, playing Kyojova, who's probably the best balanced Hackmon's starter of any of the teams. Um, last when they played 2 weeks ago, PDT got a filet of fish sweep with Hoopa, and that was a little bit of a beatdown. Not gonna lie.
A pooper win.
Yeah, he hooped my filet 1 GG. That was his tagline on the win. So
Right.
anyway, but it should be a pretty good game. We'll see.
I mean, they might have a real BH builder now, so this could work out.
Of course. I mean, PTT was doing all right on his own, building, but definitely balanced Hackmons is. I would say it's the hardest tier to build. Um,
Alone, yes.
alone for sure, but
Unless you're City.
yeah, it's pretty. I don't know. It's definitely not easy to just
I
throw stuff together and do well.
I think, I look at this matchup, I think Quajova's one weakness as a player and builder is that I don't think he has a ton of variation to his teams. Like he has like 10 Mons he's really comfortable with, and then he just sort of interchanges them throughout weeks. And that's not like shade. Like I many of us build tiers the same way, but I think in BH it becomes a lot easier to cheese and to bring something that wins on preview, which we saw, I think, with PDT's win over him. That if you load the right breaker and you Terra right, that you can win. And so I think after that loss, I would assume Kujova has taken that into account some and is probably going to try and, you know, I would like to see Quijova just try and out offense PDT. Like, don't bring something standard. Like, just bring something that you can control the game and win. Because I think if you load something that is more passive, PDT can just bring like offense and just win. And don't do that. You know,
hmm it'll be interesting to see what happens in this game for sure.
I would say it's like 65-35 Quijova,
Yeah,
but PDT is a very good player.
P50 is a very good player, going 3-0 in World Cup recently. So
Yas.
but this is not OU. This is a balanced hack ones, of course. So I do think Kyojova is favored pretty
This
heavily though.
isn't OU.
No, it's not. But anyway, we're gonna move on to Golly Gift, which is like OU if you've heard Telenet talk. But that'll be pretty interesting. I think I don't want to hype up the Tyrant's Golly Gift slot too hard, but I think our Golly Gift channel is off the chains right now. Like gotta be around
What's its record?
8,000 messages or something. The record started off pretty good. I do think we started off 3-0. Maybe even 4-0, considering that
It was 3-0.
Telenet won their fourth week against the Verizions.
Yeah.
Um, so
Why
I
didn't he play again?
um he was just a little bit inactive in the Discord, but
Are
we might have been keeping him as a little bit of a secret weapon.
right. I mean, BJ went like what, like 7-1 last year, 7-0 in GG, and this year he has been 5-2 with like two losses that weren't very good. Well, the loss versus Meta I thought was pretty bad, and then I think,
hmm
or was it versus Lily? I think it was versus Meta, and then versus Lily he played good but got bad matchup.
Yeah, definitely versus
So,
meta. A lot of people were saying that he should have gone to a different Pokemon on a bulking up Great Tusk earlier, but that'll
uh,
happen. Great Tusk is a scary
but
Pokemon.
I mean, BJ loads. He either loads balance or he loads whack shit, and then he wins. So I think when it comes to him having like across two PLs now, like a 12-2 record. Like he has far superior meta knowledge, but I don't think that really matters in Godly Gift. Like you can pick up the meta like 1 week in 1 week in Godly Gift.
Yeah,
You
Godly.
can load up a Godly Gift game with no meta knowledge and know what's going on.
Yeah, it's
So
pretty straightforward meta in general, which is it's very nice, I think. And very beginner friendly. Uh, but for sure, like in the week 6 game, BJ was playing Instruct, who loaded up some Psy spam, and I think there was just on this turn actually, turn 4, there was a bit of a misplay. I think a Shell Smash there would have done more, but a little bit of a difficult matchup for Instruct there as well. BJ had a really well prepared team in this one. But yeah, I think the Tyrant's Golly Gift preparation is pretty good, and they've also enlisted Paunch Lake to help. So
who
pretty Paunch Lake, the man who went
who
6-1,
who has?
the Tyrants.
No, we've enlisted Punch Lake.
Oh really? Well then, I guess every team has enlisted Paunch
I
Lake.
guess he's just a slut being passed around to each team to build Godly Gift.
Anyway, um,
Um,
so
I
yeah,
feel like BJ should win this, but Godly Gift right now is so matchup dependent that it just depends on what happens.
I'll make my prediction on who will win when I see what both teams have been loaded up.
That kind of ruins the point.
Uh, I definitely think Telenet is a great clicker. I would say
I
maybe
would say
even.
if
I'm
both
not
teams
sure.
loaded up even matchup, I would say it's a coin flip.
Yeah, it's like pretty even. I think Telenet is very good, but so is BJ. So not much else to
Uh,
say there.
you you're playing the Ice
I
Master,
am playing the Ice Master.
which you beat.
I did beat the Ice Master in this same week. I was one of the first people to play this week. I think I might have even been the first person to play in week
What's your
6.
record?
I am
4-0.
4-0.
It could have been 5-0 if you were, slotted against Thresh.
Oh, it could have been. Wouldn't that be funny? Then maybe people wouldn't say that I just farmed the easy matchups.
I
What a ridiculous thing
mean,
that is to
you
say.
beat Ice Master. That's one hard matchup.
At least one. Let's just I did play KDCA in week 2 before
You did play
Pretty
Gay
Home,
DCA.
and then I played Derpy Boy in week 3, first week after home. That
Do
was a
not
Golden
ask
Go
what
meta
Derpy
though.
Boy and Damn Flames records are, though.
Yeah, do not ask what Derpy Boy and Damn Flames records are, please. But yeah, I definitely think our game was a pretty good game. It was pretty even matchup on hindsight. My E-Killer was a massive threat. His Hoopa was a massive threat, and basically his Hoopa didn't do as much as E-Killer did. So it was
Do you want to know what the combined record of
Derpy Boy and
all of
Giant
your opponents
Flames.
before you played Ice Master was?
Uh, I don't want to know because I do know and it's not good. But let's just I don't know.
I mean, I feel like it's weird for you to predict your own matchups, so I'll predict it.
Yeah, you got anything to say?
Um, 1 second. I mean, I feel like you should um do. I feel like it's pretty even. Like you're both pretty good. Are you building solo?
No, I have quite a bit of help. Space Speakers and Tectonic Destroyer, the other two guys who have slotted in for
Oh,
the Tyrants, have been.
um,
There's been a pretty good amount of discourse throughout the season with the three of us. But we've also enlisted some outside help. Um,
I think the one thing that's kind of hard with Ice Master predicting him to win this is that even though I think he's incredibly good, he has not beaten the three most difficult people that he's fought. He, beat Damflame, beat Class, beat Zastra. That's all good, and then lost versus Trash, lost versus QT, lost versus you. So he's beaten three okay players and lost to three very good players. So if we're just looking at what's happened so far, I would favor you, but I mean, again, when it's once you hit playoffs, I think it's completely different. And um, I mean, I don't know. You've been playing Mix and Mega for a while. You are the Mix and Mega Unbanned champion.
That's true. I
So
am Mix and Mega's unbans champion. Of course, we're not being playing with unbans. Wouldn't that be fun though? Um,
I would like to bring Bayonetite Giratina again.
Ba- no, it's
Um,
Diane Site Giratina. That was
people were running Bayonetite
Oh
though. That was
yeah.
funny.
Well, you can just Destiny Bond. It's very fun. But anyway,
Um,
that's a lot to be
but
said about Mix and Mega. I
I
definitely am
think
not predicting my own game because I'm going to be playing in it. So I could just say I lose and then I would predict
I
right.
would like for
So
you to win. That would be fun
that would be fun. I would stay undefeated. So that would be
until
cool.
finals. Yeah.
Of course we would have to see. Well, you never know. I
If
could win and we
Virizions
could
and Tyrants
lose
played
and
in finals, would you get to play Stresh?
oh, would that be like the finally? It's been so long. I
Like
just
you
like
play Stresh in OMPL finals?
and yeah, that wouldn't be that great. Or let's not count out a tiebreaker happening in either series as well.
I would throw up.
Yeah, well, or a tiebreaker in finals. Wouldn't that be nice? We'll see what our turn the tour hosts would do at that point.
Shangle versus Clean.
Shane Ghoul been pretty good so far. Our NFE slot in general. Leptin leading the way, the big builder in the back there. She had a little bit of a rough start to start off. So she kind of
Who started your NFE? Was it
it
Lepton?
was Leptin. She started in week one. I definitely
Uh
think she got hacked in week one. I remember that.
she
I'm not
got
sure.
two hard opponents though, week one and two. OJR and then Fade, and then
Oh.
subbed into Stab and then
The
beat
subbed into
Leola
Stab was
week seven.
definitely funny story. Laston was supposed to play that week, and his phone got stolen at work, so we had to sub
Whose phone
someone
got
out.
stolen?
Laston was supposed to play that week. His phone got stolen at work, and he couldn't play when he was supposed to.
Oh, Layson. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
That so that's the story of how Lepton got subbed into
It's
Stab.
Lassen because he's ass.
Oh, I see, I see. You're one of
Got him.
those. But anyway, I'm looking. I'm looking.
Uh, I mean, I would probably favor Shangul, but just because he had a beatdown of Clean, and I'm a big Clean Cuts fan, but he's been having the two tours that I have been watching, team tours I have been watching him in, which are this and AGPL. It's been a rough couple of weeks for him. But he's a very competent clicker, and he has some good support theoretically. In that, I mean, BJ knows how to play NFE fine, and it's not like it's a hard tier to build. But I mean, I don't know. I'd probably rate them about equally in terms of playing ability. It just depends on who is better in the builder.
Yeah, and I would even say that because yeah, it will basically depend on the builder, but like we'll see. Clean has played every week this tournament. I think I'm not 100% sure on that. If you want to
I
double
think
check,
he's 3-3.
but Shangle
Oh, 4-3. Never mind.
maybe not as much experience in FE, but definitely a great
It's not
player.
like you have to have experience to know how
Yeah,
NFE works.
there's
They
not
removed the
any.
only interesting thing about NFE interactions, which was knockoff, and now only like two mons get it.
Yeah, exactly. The knockoff distribution being changed definitely changed the this tier, I think. For the
I think
better
it made the
even.
interactions a lot simpler for sure.
Yeah. Um preserving
Um,
your Eviolite on
yeah.
certain Pokemon was definitely one of the most nuanced things about the tier in previous generations.
Mm-hmm.
But
Um,
we'll see how this goes.
then Fisher versus FC.
Fisher
Um,
versus FC. I don't know if anyone
Fisher, the ultimate
recalls.
cheeser.
Yeah, Fissure kind of is a little bit of a cheeser, but he's really good at his job. So he did get the win on FC the last time these two guys played. But I wouldn't even say that was much fish. I would just say that FC brought a team that was 6-0 by Hilligant, and Hilligant does what it does and just cheesed all over FC, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like not much to be said. Uh, that
What's
was
FC's record? I accidentally closed out the
FC, I think
standard
he has
sheet.
2 losses, so 5-2. I would be guessing. Oh, you know what? 4-2, because I don't think he played last week. I think he
Mm,
got
same
benched.
difference. Yeah.
Um, but yeah, like that was basically what it was. Fissure brought Hilligan and just walked over FC. Missed a drain punch, got a crit. That'll happen, but not much
That's what you
hacks
get for not
involved.
just clicking flower trick.
Oh, on a heat trend, you would click flower trick on a heat trend.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't watch the game.
Oh, I just have the
Uh,
replay up for the recording
oh,
for
that's
all of
funny.
our lovely viewers. I've been trying to put some replays up and not just have me sitting over the matchups, but hopefully you guys didn't think this was too sporadic of
Face
a thing.
cam, people could be watching your beautiful face.
Yeah, I could just put my beautiful face up there. I don't know.
Don't do that.
No, I'm not gonna do that. But anyway, uh,
I think I feel like with Fisher, it's really hard to like say. Like I think he sometimes loads HO. I mean, he always loads HO, and sometimes he gets good matchup, and sometimes he gets bad matchup, and it just depends on what he gets.
well, you can say he always loads HO, but it's not like you can run. Well, you can run bulkier stuff in stab, but I definitely think the
I
stab.
say he only loads HO because through the three OMPLs I've watched him in, he has only loaded HO every game.
Well, stab. I feel like stab is pretty like balanced
That
towards
is, I
more
mean, even
offensive
In
builds.
SS at the end of last gen, it was still pretty HO heavy.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Even I would say SS was more friendly to like bulkier builds
Yeah, for sure.
than the current meta is. Like SV is very skewed.
Hmm.
Because like at this point, Lilligan got two victory dances and then they just flower tricked a bunch of times, so it was over. But I think FC is a very good player and a very good preparer of Stabmon's teams. So it'll be a very interesting game.
If FC preps good, he should win, in my opinion.
I do
But
think that
Fisher always
FC
says something.
Fissure is definitely a good player in his own right, but FC is probably widely regarded as the better player with more experience.
I think it just depends on what Fisher's prep looks like. And I think HO is always capable of teching around its counters. And especially with Terra, it's much easier. So I think theoretically, Fisher can definitely make something that will beat whatever anti HO prep that FC brings.
All right. Well,
Yes.
so anyway, thank you guys for sticking around for our playoffs review. We're at about an hour now, so we'll probably wrap it up here. But
Yes.
I hope you guys
What is
enjoyed.
it? What games are you most looking forward to this week
Um,
from both ties?
well, I would say on the Veriz Bigley side, I would say I'm definitely looking forward to the Mix and Mega game. And then I would say two honorable mentions for that series, NFE and Balanced Hack ones probably.
I would definitely say
And then do you want to
for
say
me,
for my
yeah, for
series?
yours, I would probably say balanced Hackmons is going to be really interesting just to see what Soul Galetos bring. I'm of course excited to see you play, and I mean, yeah, I would say those two, and then probably the 2v2 set too.
Yuki and Fragments. I think both of the 2v2 these are maybe the four best 2v2 slots that were in OMPL and they all made it to
Yes.
playoffs. So,
So clearly, just draft good 2v2 and you'll make playoffs.
of course.
Um, do you have any final? Who do you think from the other side is going to make it? And then I'll say for yours.
Um I think your series I think you guys are probably going to make it, but I could see going to tie breaks pretty easily as well.
Hmm.
What about our series?
Um, Let me see. I'll do a little head calc real quick. Honestly, I think the Sol Galeos can will win, but I think you will win your game.
Oh, okay. Well, that's very
So I'm being
nice.
nice
I
to
do
you.
I do hope I win my game. But I definitely hope that our team wins. That's more important. But we'll see how it goes. Of course, we'll know pretty soon here. Deadline
Yes.
5 days from now. Countdown is on.
Mm-hmm.
Hope everyone gets their games in, and I
Yes,
hope
I'm looking forward
everyone.
to this.
Yeah, I hope everyone stayed to the end and watched the video and enjoyed it. course. So,
Yes.
anyway, thank you
Bye.
guys. Bye.